conjure a dragon, fly into the stars, and come back. I want one of those. Where do you get one of those kind of calls?
Yeah.
Huh, right? And that it's not just in China or Asia. You come over to Native Americans here in North America, same story. They talk about their star brothers, star sisters, these star walkers that came down, maybe rescued them from a cataclysm, as in the case of the Hopi, left, promised to return, just like the Anunnaki.
Right, and especially in the case of many of First Nations cultures, they all say that somebody descended from the sky. Now, many First Nations people, their earliest traditions were with the spoken word, with oral traditions. They had no writing at the time. However, there was a type of writing that did exist, and it's the so-called petroglyphs. I brought you a picture here, for example, from a place in Arizona, Winslow, Arizona, called Rock Art Ranch. And William and I went there a few years ago. If you ever want to go, you should. It's amazing. You can see these petroglyphs. I mean, you can touch them, don't touch them, but you can see them right there in front of you. And, you know, it would be one thing if these types of motifs would only exist in Arizona at Winslow Rock Art Ranch. But the truth of the matter is that not similar, but identical figures like this exist worldwide. Everywhere it's the same. And, you know, you have to wonder, what did our ancestors try to tell us? And I'll tell you more about that in a moment.
Yeah, did you guys catch that little gray alien down there next to Bugs Bunny in the lower right-hand corner? Yeah. I saw almost exactly the same artwork in northern Italy. Ancient Aliens sent me to Val Camonica, which is a super ancient site. And I'm looking at this newspaper rock, very much like this. It portrays almost the identical figures, and one, the locals even call the spaceman.
Well, let's take a look at part of your trip to Val Camonica.
This is one of the rock art sites here in Val Camonica. Footprints there. Wow. You can see here, look at deer, and warriors. Look at this, incredible. Thousands of figures on the rocks. Here we are. Wow, what we have here? We have this one, this figure. Oh, look at that. The spaceman. Spaceman, exactly. Look at the helmet. Look at the helmet. Right, it's like he's glowing. Yeah. And the communion rose. The communion rose. It's a strange and mysterious symbol with 9 dots. It was made probably on the first millennium before Christ. Wow. We have 19 communion roses in Val Camonica. 19 communion roses.
Archaeologists call this mysterious object the communion rose because of its flower-like shape. While its exact meaning is lost to history, some believe it to be a religious symbol or a representation of the movement of the stars. But ancient astronaut theorists suggest it might also depict something else, the vessel that brought these hominid figures to Val Camonica.
Look at that, that looks like a spaceship. It's like you'd look up in the sky and you would see this kind of twirling, spinning ship in the sky. It seems to me, just looking at it, they're trying to talk about beings coming from other worlds, maybe to this place.
Wow, those petroglyphs are fascinating.
No, they really are, and I cannot stress enough. If only a few places would have these motifs, then one could say, all right, whatever, our ancestors had a lot of time, and that's how they, it was a hobby or something like this. But here's what we're told by the mainstream. We're told that anything that you see in any of these petroglyphs panels, anything that you see today that we are familiar with, like hunter-gatherer scenes, or people with bows and arrows on the back of horses chasing down cattle or something like that. All of that stuff is real because we can recognize it from today. All the other stuff, like for example the spacemen, or that gray, or the one creature pointing to the sky with one hand pointing down and up. Well, all that, ladies and gentlemen, is a figment of our ancestors' imagination because they invented these things in order to explain away their place in nature. Huh? What does that even mean? They lived in nature. They were way more outdoorsy than we'll ever be 25,000 years ago, okay? So to say that they needed to know what's in nature is baloney. And I'll tell you why. The reason why they did commemorate these things or put them on the wall is because it was anything but ordinary. It was not nature. It was not natural. And that is why they had to carve it in stone. Because stone, first of all, lasts forever. And second of all, they carved it because they knew that in the future, nobody would believe them that they were visited. So all we have is like, on these petroglyph walls are essentially first contact scenario of extraterrestrials. And what does our mainstream do? They all say, oh, our ancestors, all they did was just, they drank a lot and they took a lot of drugs. And so they were just all fantasizing. Well, I don't care how many drugs or how much you drink. If there's no spark of inspiration for an idea, nothing gets drawn in a vacuum. So what was that spark of inspiration? And the spark of inspiration was the first contact scenario. So it's more that we need to pay attention to what our ancestors tried to depict.
Well, Georges, that idea that our ancestors would commemorate something extraordinary like